All right, in our last segment, we were looking at a number of different phenomena in marketing that apply to classical conditioning. And now we're going to start with operant conditioning. We're going to start with a brief review. Again, this should be review for you from introductory psychology. Operant conditioning, remember, is learning through consequential reinforcement and punishment. Consequential because the reinforcement or punishment occur after the behavior. Skinner demonstrated that rats will learn to press a lever over and over again if they are given a reward, in other words, a reinforcer for doing so. Marketers are using operant conditioning when they promise or imply positive outcomes for buying or negative outcomes for not buying their products. Now, for these two terms, really important to remember that in psychology, the words positive and negative do not mean something good and something bad. Okay? So we really have to stop. You need to pause and just think a minute when you run across these terms. Now, you can always trust the word reinforcement, right? It's always going to make it more likely that a behavior will happen again if we reinforce it. So you can trust that word. But positive and negative, I want you to stop and think a minute about. Because in psychology, positive means giving something and negative means taking something away. Marketers are using positive reinforcement, giving something pleasant, when they advertise or infer rewards for buying their products. Like, hey guys, use our cologne and women will flock to you, right? They're using negative reinforcement, eliminating something unpleasant, when they advertise or infer that buying their product will eliminate a concern, something negative, like use our deodorant to eliminate embarrassing body odor. So both are reinforcing. You can trust that word, but they do so differently. In the first case, by promising something pleasant. In the second case, by promising to eliminate something that is negative. Do you remember shaping from introductory psychology? Do you remember the definition? It's reinforcing approximate behaviors, right? Shaping is often used to draw new customers. So car dealers often give small rewards to consumers for visiting the showroom. Could be a cold drink on a hot day. And then test driving the car. They might give them a cup holder with a car brand name on it. Then, upon placement of an order, they might give them a rebate check. So they're rewarding approximate behaviors toward the sale. A retailer may first reinforce new potential consumers for visiting the mall by offering a free fashion show in the common area, then for entering the store by offering a door prize, then by offering a discount on products if they use a store credit card, and so on. So shaping is a particularly powerful operant conditioning marketing phenomenon. A final step of shaping can be used to promote client retention. So not just to attract new clients, but to retain current clients. Okay? Promote client retention through offering rewards like frequent shopper programs. In the example of our mall retailer, they can then monitor the client's purchases through their credit card and reward them for frequent shopping. So shaping can be used to attract new clients and to retain current clients. Reinforcement schedules, to pair or not to pair, consistently, every time, or just intermittently. So think back to classical conditioning. Remember how both traditional classical conditioning and evaluative conditioning work best if the pairing is consistent, but one of them is less vulnerable to extinction because of non-pairings. Which one? Remember, it was evaluative conditioning. Now, with operant conditioning, the answer depends on whether the response is being acquired, remember that term, or being maintained after it is acquired. Consistent pairing works best, no contest, when acquiring a new response. But once it is acquired or learned, intermittent reinforcement works best. Consistent pairing works best when acquiring a new response. But once it is acquired or learned, intermittent reinforcement works best. One reason for this is what is called the scarcity effect in psychology. Reinforcements or rewards seem more valuable when they are more scarce or harder to get. A second reason is called the anticipation effect. Reinforcements or rewards are more exciting when we are not sure if we're going to get them or not. Casinos make a truckload of money off this last one, the anticipation effect. They give first-time guests many rewards to prompt them to acquire a gambling attraction, but then they only give them intermittent rewards, just as, for instance, the slot machines are programmed to do, to best keep people coming back. In other words, to maintain that response. Not knowing what will happen, but knowing you may get lucky is more psychologically exciting than consistent words, which are less exciting and perceived as less valuable when they are always available, right? Now, another really interesting question here is to delay or not to delay. What they're talking about is the reinforcement, to delay the reinforcement or not. As you likely guessed, reinforcement works best when there is not a delay, when it is experienced immediately following the behavior. I mean, try to teach a dog a new trick and try giving those treats even a minute after they respond in the way you want them to, and they're unlikely to learn that trick, right? So you want the reinforcement to immediately follow that behavior. I'll tell you something, this is a real tough break for how consumers tend to think of credit cards. The benefits are instant, but the costs are delayed. Thus, strong credit card benefit associations are learned instantly by consumers, but learned cost associations are far weaker because they are delayed. Feinberg did a really interesting study in 1986. You don't need to memorize the date on this, but you do need to know about him and his study. His studies, we should say, because he has published so many of them. In 1986, he did this super cool series of studies showing that credit cards brainwash clients to spend more and faster. Here's his most important findings. There's 3 of them. So the first one, restaurant customers tend to tip a higher percentage of their bill when using credit compared to cash. 2, in a Price is Right game, players tend to guess higher prices and to do so more quickly when a MasterCard sign is simply placed near the monitor. And then finally, students donated more and more quickly to charity when a credit card logo was displayed compared to when it wasn't, even though in both cases the students had to pay cash.